I'm April. I just want to take a moment to just say some thoughts I have on this current issue with transgenderism and what's happening in our society. This push for our schools to promote ideology and also at the same time give the power and right and authority to the schools, the school counselors over the power over parents, which I think is a very dangerous territory. For one, we have to consider like some historical facts. If you look at a 2008 campaign video with Biden and Obama and every Democrat prior to this did not support gay marriage. So in 2008, our leaders did not support gay marriage. Democratic leaders, our liberal policy leaders were supporting civil unions, which is a different argument. So we had the division between marriage, what is marriage, and also what is civil union, and they were supporting civil unions. So in 2008, Biden was campaigning on civil unions, not marriage. So here we are. Our current leadership in the Democratic policy is supporting transgender concerns, which is way more beyond a civil union or a gay marriage, quote unquote gay marriage. And I can say this because I actually worked with the Democratic Party and I supported gay marriage. I worked with legislators and I worked also to pass, like civil unions in the state of New Jersey. And in fact, I was actually at the first marriage that took place in Jersey City, and it happened at midnight. And I was thankful to be a part of it. So I've always been an advocate for the government not saying what one or another person can do in their own personal choices and their own personal lifestyles. And part of that is also being able to marry who you want to marry. So to me, it was the government not being allowed to say you can't be with that person. And that was the fight of equality, same-sex marriage. And it was like also because I had friends who were in hospitals who sadly they had to watch their partners die, and before there was the resident guaranteed under law, they could be ushered so quickly out of the dying partner's room in the hospital bed because they weren't married. And the law didn't allow my friend to be with his husband. And I know it hurt him. And not only that, but my friend also was not allowed to keep the house that they had been in for 30 years. And this is East Coast. And if ever there was like a married couple, it was that couple. And they grew a life together. If it wasn't like the ideas or concepts of family, but they still had a life together, and the government denied them so much. Like they denied them being able to die together and also to divide assets. So like I totally understood like civil unions, and like I fully support it, and understood like what the law was in terms of like differentiating between like what the law can allow a couple or people adults who approve to be one way, what it could give them, what it could protect versus what it could not, and so how could the government say that these two people that came together couldn't be afforded the same rules of the law, which was the civil contract of like the unity of property, because it all comes down, government is all about division of property and assets and how it's going to be managed. Well, these people showed that, and like, anyway, so I fought hard for that. So fast forward, here we are. So in 2008, as progressive Democrats, we were fighting against this ideology, against our own party. So we were considered like the outsiders of our own party even. Biden, Obama, the Democrats before were against gay marriage, they were against civil unions, they were against it. So we were fighting our own party. And I fought they said ally. I wasn't ally. I was just for rights. It comes down, and I was an ally because it was my friend, but also in terms of like, what can the government tell a person what they can or cannot do? And that's what it comes down to, and that's like what this also comes down to. So now, here we are, fast forward in a short 15 years, when our current Democratic president is supporting transgenderism. He's not saying whether or not he agrees, but he's not saying anything really. But what's happening in our smaller school districts, they could be governed by charter or home rule, which obviously delegates a different authority based on the Constitution. But anyway, he's not supporting the concept that he doesn't have an opinion. He supports transgenders, and he should, and we should all support. If somebody wants to be a transgender, fine, be a transgender. That's pretty much what we get for him, so you can't really say anything about his policies, but like what's happening in this country, where there's certain political faction, marginalized groups going into our schools, changing school policy. If a child goes to a counselor and says that I may be gay, I may be born in the wrong body, that child is by law now protected not to tell the parent. The same parent who may have birthed that child, raised that child in this world, pay for that child to be in that school, pay taxes in that school, for those policy people to make this decision, and they protect what this child is saying over a parent. No, yes, I understand that that child may go home and that dad or mom may not agree with their preference or their sexual choices, or that they may be confused. I understand that, and I understand that hurt, because that hurt has been happening so many years and for so many generations in our society. It's been happening since the dawn of time, since the Romans, since the Greeks, since before the Bible. If you look even the Genesis, this has been the same fight. But the government, the school board, those policymakers have no right whatsoever over the authority of a parent to not tell them. The government is not paying their property tax. The government is not getting them dressed every day when they go to school. The government did not change their diapers until they got there. So the government is not even entitled or put in any effort to even make those decisions on what it is to raise a child, first of all. Now, yes, certainly there's going to be people in the society who don't agree with transgenderism. Could it harm a child, a kid, or whatever their label? Could it harm them? Yes, it could. It could harm them. It could harm them, and that's like where the advocacy groups that we saw with like Pride that led up to, 2012 and 13, we saw all these states passing civil unions, and that's where our society as Americans and as a democracy stepped in, and like we joined in the fight and we protected those rights of those people. And right now we have a system where the government is saying we are the authority when there's no social delegation. Where has been the social delegation of this activism? So for many, many years, we have like the gay rights activists like who fought so hard, and we had the activism. Where's the social delegation representing trans youth? And right now, what we see is a lot of fluff on the media. We see like pretty dressed transgender people, men and women, like, yeah, they look good. Okay, well, they have money. People with money are going to have a different story than the poor people. Point blank. Point blank. They come from families with money. They have a time and a space where they can actually have that liberty to know what the difference between feeling right in your body and not in your body versus like, am I gonna eat? Like, and first, like, we have to address the concerns, like the basic needs of, like, we go into these communities where people are not eating, they're supporting their family, and then we're gonna throw in these like other issues on top of the things our society cannot handle, but our society will say that, okay, you can't eat, we can't feed your family, but you know what, we'll help you transition. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, even the basic premise of like the human society and Pavlov's dogs, the basic needs, the pyramid of life is not even being met. And like, sometimes they're going into these urban communities and they're allowing this. The logic is so far skewed. Anyway, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely 1000% ridiculous that any public institution would have an authority over any private anything, whatever it is. America is not meant for that. America protects private rights. Now, should the child who is possibly, more than likely, yes, are they misgendered maybe? Yes. Yes, it happens. Yes. Just like gay people happen. Just like we are all different. Yes, that's going to happen. When has our gay and lesbian community ever failed anybody? They haven't. But now they're being misused. But we had these safe stop social measures in place that have been completely circumvented, so much to the fact that gays against groomers now is what they're calling. We have gay people who are fighting the transgender movement. And what good does that do for anybody that is confused, misunderstood? What does that tell you when gay and lesbian people who've been fighting for rights for so long and for so many years are now fighting against this policy? The most disenfranchised, like gay men in particular, and then lesbians throughout human history have always been called faggots. What does it tell you when they're forming organizations and they're going and fighting up against this opposition, these people who fought for their rights? What does it tell you when they are fighting against this transgender movement? We have to learn from that. We have to learn from the gay men who were called groomers and ridiculed and called faggots and not treated the same, and the gay women, like lesbian women, like we have to learn from them. Like, they suffered so much throughout history. And so if we can learn anything from gays against groomers or the people who are standing up against this, like, I would really rely on like what they have to say, because like they were so wrongly persecuted throughout the years. And now these people, our country, not only America, but then civilization and history, civilization told these gay people they were the groomers, they were the pedophiles. Nobody wanted their child to be around a gay person because they thought that their child would become gay. And now when these people who have suffered under our ideology, whatever it was, like man or woman, they suffered it, they paid the price. They didn't get to be at the bedside of the people that they loved. They lost property, they lost things they invested in. They lost so much to fight for these rights. You don't hear them crying now about how much they lost. They lost a lot. What they're doing is trying to protect the children, because they didn't even think about what they lost for those rights. They're thinking about the cost of them. And that says a lot to me. This is a lot to me, because everyone always called like gays and like even when I was growing up, it wasn't even that long ago. I mean, Biden, Obama, everyone was so against gay marriage. So it wasn't like, it's not even like that shocking that this is like even that long ago. Like the Democrats were never a champion for gay rights. Like it was the progressive Democrats who championed this. So it's like it's a different group of people. So for them to sit here and have a position as people who were marginalized up until 15 years ago, who were called the gay makers. Like everyone's like, don't make my son gay, don't make my child gay, you hang out with a gay person, you're gonna get gay. So these people who sit there, fought the battle, got rights passed, because they understand what it is to hurt. They're not saying, well, you called me a gay maker. No, they actually, you know what they did? Gays against groomers, because they knew the truth. So that should say something. That should say something about this, whatever is happening. And we need to consider these things as a society. And I just want to say that. I really want to say that, because like I am all for supporting transgender people. I am so sorry for what you've gone through. Believe me, from the bottom of my heart, everything that makes me me. I understand. And you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it, and you don't deserve to be made a victim by a movement that is not going to protect you. Transgender community, this policy, all this money going into this movement is not going to protect you. They have money. They're not going to protect you. They won't protect you. They won't. If it changes, you're irrelevant. We see that, and like you cannot rely on it, and you just cannot allow the government to get involved with who you are. If you are a transgender person, you can be transgender without having to change your sex, because you could, if it is fluid, then you can identify as yourself. And there's nothing, if you are yourself, then you're going to be yourself no matter what physical manifestation you are, right? And don't let them deceive you, transgender community. Just don't let whatever movement is happening, don't let them use you. Don't let them use you because they can make money that way. And like, so stop going to the schools. I know you want to protect the children. There's groups, advocacy groups. Look what Gay Pride did before it became this. Gay Pride had like one of the most successful operations that ever existed. Keep up with that, but like don't change policy. And you should be concerned that if a government requires any of us, as we are, so I am a woman. I'm a woman. I like men. Whatever that is. But I shouldn't have to tell you what I am, and you shouldn't have to tell me what you are. And if we do give those labels, then they are forever our labels, and those labels could actually be used against us, let's say in 15 years, if this political power is no longer in power. We know how government works. So that's my caution. Thank you.